Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Sallia Wilkins here with me today. How you doing, Sallia?
Hey, Cedric. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely, absolutely. I like that shirt. What's it say?
Black Girl Magic.
That's right. That's right. Hey to everybody who's tuned in right now. If you're in the building, drop those emojis, drop those comments or questions in the chat so that Facebook knows people are checking our show out. If you're on Roku TV, Apple TV, Android TV, Facebook, YouTube, Amazon Fire, we appreciate you. And I thank you for tuning in tonight. Sallia, what is Black Girl Magic?
I feel like every Black girl, every Black woman possesses something majestic about them. And historically, it's been seen that we've been the most unprotected in our history. So I feel like it's something that we tap into, that we're able to be resilient, we're able to keep going, we're able to be movers and shakers.
How excellent is that? Everybody, let's get some hearts and likes in the building for that explanation of Black Girl Magic, that Black women, Black girls, Black young adults, they go through adversities, they go through, challenges, and their response is an excellent essence, an essence of achievement, an essence of resilience, an essence of creativity and fortitude. That's Black Girl Magic for everybody that don't know. Drop those emojis into the chat. I love that. Now, where are you from?
I am from Los Angeles, California.
All right. What side? North side, south side, west side, east side?
I'm from South Central. I'm from Watts.
Wow. Okay. So South Central LA is the Watts community.
Yes.
All right. The Watts community, which is infamous for the riots.
Yeah, 65 riots.
The 65 riots. Adversity among the people. I don't know what Watts is like today. Can you paint the picture for me of what Watts was like when you were growing up there, when you were a child? Let's say, kindergarten age. What was going on there?
It was definitely predominantly Black, a lot of minorities. You seen a lot of gang violence, a lot of high school dropouts, and an impoverished community, pretty much. So.
Wow. When you say an impoverished community, what does that look like in Watts? What does that look like?
Definitely looks like there's no prosperity, no type of hope of moving beyond the environment that you're born into.
Yeah.
You see a lot of undeserved communities and stuff within, failing school systems, people who are here, who come to work, that don't really care about the people necessarily.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have sisters.
Okay. You got a few sisters? 1 or 2, 3?
Yeah, 2. I'm a middle child.
Okay. All right. Shout out to all the middle children in the building. The middle children, as my mom would say, the middle children run the show. Now, what was your relationship like with your mother and father?
Well, with my mom, it was kind of strange. She was in and out of jail or mental hospitals and stuff. So now when I became an adult, it just started like picking up, but we didn't necessarily have like a close relationship or anything. And
where did you?
Oh, go ahead.
Where did you and your sisters go when your mother had to go away? Where did y'all go?
Well, she didn't necessarily have to go away. When she had me, we immediately went into the system. So we were wards of the state from birth, and we went to our grandparents, our maternal grandparents. So her parents, we stayed with them until they passed away. And then we moved around, stayed with maternal aunts and stuff.
Okay. How old were you when you all moved with your grandmother?
When I was born, that's where I was.
Wow. Okay. What was that like for you growing up, under the tutelage of your grandmother? Was it special?
Yeah, grandmas are special, especially black
Right.
grandmas. They're very
Yeah.
special. Um,
Yeah.
I was always a sponge around her. I learned a lot from her. She was one of the most wisest and intelligent people I've ever encountered.
Hmm.
And she definitely motivated me to definitely get an education, take advantage of it, and always really show me how many doors that are open. Um, and But it's different, especially when you go to school and you have classmates and stuff who have their parents there, their actual parents. You always kind of felt a little different because
Hmm.
my grandmother, when I was born, she was bedridden. She couldn't walk. She couldn't, cook or clean or any of that. So I had to learn how to do a lot of those things early on my own. At 4, I was kind of helping and taking care of my grandma at 4. I didn't go to preschool, but my upbringing, my childhood, my life looked different. I didn't have parents going to parent conference meetings or any of that type of stuff. So it was different.
When your grandmother took custody of you and your sister, she was bedridden.
Yeah.
That really speaks to her character.
Hmm.
It speaks to her heart for her family,
Hmm.
and I'm deeply inspired by that.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when people say, "Oh, I was raised by my grandmother," you have mental images of somebody's grandmother, moving around raising the kids as best they can.
Right.
But even that wasn't the reality for you. It sounds like you had to grow up at a young age.
Yeah. Definitely. I had a younger sister, 7 years my junior. I had to definitely help her out a lot, take care of her, watch over her, take her to school, um, get her dressed, help her with her homework, cook dinner, all of those things. So
Did your was your grandfather there?
yeah, he was there, but he was like a World War II vet, right? So
Okay.
that comes with its own issues.
Right, right, right.
He was there, but again, going back to that black family unit, he wasn't as present, but
Mhm.
they were there physically. So
When you all lived with your grandmother, were you all still in Watts?
no, so initially, my grandmother's house was in South Central, and after my grandparents passed, that's when I had to move to Watts. That's where my maternal aunt was staying. So still not far, South Central. That's where I grew up. But yeah,
Mhm. Now, how old were you when you moved to Watts?
I was about like 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're pretty much coming of age. You're a 12-year-old, you're a preteen.
Hmm.
12-year-olds in environments like South Central Watts
Yeah.
are like grown folks. They're like little miniature grown folks in terms of how they've been left outside for years to make their own decisions about survival.
Right.
What was your peer group like, the 12-year-olds in Watts, when you arrived there?
Um, Honestly, I didn't hang around anyone in Watts. I kind of stayed to myself. I stayed inside. My social group was pretty much at school. We were all pretty much on the same path and same page. We all motivate each other. We are all competitive with each other. But here, it was kind of I stayed inside and watched my sister. I didn't really go outside and hang out with anyone. My older sister did it, but I
Mhm.
just kind of stayed to myself. It wasn't really my crew, my type of people I hang out
Right,
with. So
right. It sounds like you knew better.
yeah, absolutely.
Did you have thoughts about what you wanted to be when you were a young child?
Yeah, definitely law crossed my mind for sure. My first interaction with the justice system was me going to court. I had social workers growing up. It was encounters that I had to endure going through with my mom. She's been violent and stuff. She suffers from mental illness, and I had to go to court for those things. And I was fascinated, like, wow, it's like this old white dude in a black robe and a guy
Hmm.
who has so much power over, where me and my sisters would live, where we would be. And I was intrigued by that. I was fascinated by that. And I kind of associated the law with something negative because I always felt, unsettled, unsure, like, okay, what's going to happen if my grandma passes. And
Hmm.
you hear about all these stories, going to different homes being split up from the siblings, group homes and all that. So it was always a horror, but I knew like when it came to the law and judges, they had that type of power and stuff, and children's court, dependency courts and stuff. So that kind of crossed my mind or whatnot. And then I grew up in church, and that was like my first exposure to a lawyer and stuff, having professionals around me. And
In church?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was church like? What was church like?
Oh man, it was good. It was supportive. My grandmother had us going at an early age, and that helped me establish like my morale and stuff, and it kept me grounded. I had a lot of women there who I could rely on, who were great mentors and stuff, who allowed me to be a visionary and futuristic and see stuff, beyond the Watts, beyond my childhood, and pour into me and equip me with all these skills and knowledge and tenacity and stuff that let me know like, okay, this isn't the end all be all. I could go further than this. I know I was given this hand. I knew I grew up in the foster care system, but it's something else out there beyond this, right? And so that immediately at a young age, it really shifted my mindset to think, more so like a visionary, seeing stuff beyond my circumstances and stuff.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's an old saying, it's not where you live, it's how you live. And what I would like to co-champion with you on tonight, Sallia, is that when we think about communities where there's foliage from stuff like drugs, war, and adversity, there are people in those communities who are not a part of all of that. People who stay inside and build futures. There are many people building futures in neighborhoods where you think, oh, I can't go there.
Right.
There are many people building resilience. Some of the most powerful people in our country are in the most so-called dangerous, impoverished neighborhoods, and you'll never see them because they're in the house, whether it be reading a book or studying or simply imagining what their future is going to be. And so I just find it very powerful how you establish, yes, I lived in Watts, I lived in South Central, but I wasn't outside with everybody else. I knew the risk and I knew the difference. And I did the life-preserving act of staying inside and envisioning a better life for myself. That's a life-preserving act.
Right.
Were there any programs that you got involved with as a young child that were impactful?
Not really. Nothing really after school, honestly. I didn't really stay after school. I had to watch my younger sister as well, so that was another responsibility on me. And programs probably just be like stuff in the Black church and stuff that I go to, Bible study, choir rehearsal. That kept me busy during the week and on weekends and on Sundays and stuff.
Would you say that church was a place for rites of passage for you?
Can you elaborate on that question?
Yeah, when you went to church, were you influenced by other women to the point where you feel like this is where I'm actually growing up at? I might not grow up, at school as much as I grow up at church. On Sundays, I see how women dress. I see how they interact with other people. I see how they, comprehend a powerful message being given out. I see how they, how they go into the spirit and how they become visionaries. Yeah. Did you learn those types of things in church?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that was my exposure again to having, successful women in my life that I looked up to. So I didn't, have a mother figure there consistently. So that was something I definitely tapped into, that support system, and it definitely made a difference.
Were you in survival mode as a young person? Like, were you thinking like, wow, like my life is different. My life is kind of at stake. Like, were you paying attention in that type of way?
Yeah, like everything was methodical for me. Like I knew I had to graduate high school with a high GPA. I know I had to get into a great college, and I know I had to move into someone's dorm, when I turned 18. Because, once you emancipate, you're on your own and stuff.
Yeah.
I know I had to keep my grades up during undergrad to make sure I kept scholarships and funds. So everything pretty much was survival mode, methodical. Right after undergrad, I knew like, okay, I got to start working on this LSAT. I knew I had to get into law school. So yeah, pretty much that's been the way I've been moving.
I'm going to ask you, it could be a tough question. I hope it's not. Do you remember at what point you became methodical about the decisions that you were making in life, the choices, the ideas? What point?
Probably when my grandma died. It was a lot of instability for me.
Okay.
Like, that was my maternal figure, you know, that was my grandma.
Yeah.
That was the lady I gave Mother's Day cards to that I made at school.
Yeah.
That was the, you know, the main woman, the matriarch.
Yeah. That was your support, your backbone, kind of.
Exactly. And so her passing, it just felt like, okay, other family members may not be as loving and graceful as she, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, that woke something about that season in my life as a kid. It woke me up like, okay, I know I have to work hard. I know I have to work hard. I know I have to, you know, plant seeds. I know I have to plant harvest, and I know it's going to pay off.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just really, I became really focused, you know, straight A's, principals on a roll. And I was just on a track. Like I knew I would, you know, go to college and do something great, do something different, beat odds. And, you know, only 3% go on to college that are in foster care. Only 2% go on and get graduate degrees. So that was big for me. And I wanted to be a role model for my younger sister. You know, I wanted her to have somebody to look up to. I feel it's just so important when you're seeing somebody, you know, who comes from where you come from, do it and get out. Like, I feel that's so important. So
it sounds like that black girl magic. Sounds like that black girl magic was inspired, began to rise, you know, out of your soul when your grandmother passed away.
Yeah.
And I love the way that you thought about your younger siblings. You said I have to provide, you know, an example. I have to be a role model for my younger sibling.
Yeah.
You know, did anybody ever try to distract you from that, or ask you to, you know, just think about yourself? Don't worry about your little sister right now. Just think about yourself.
No, not really.
Okay. All right. What do you say? What do you say to the young lady or the young man who's living in Watts right now, and you know they're living the Watts experience,
Right.
and they could use a word from you? What do you say to them tonight?
And I would definitely say, you know, the sky is your limit. Your circumstances here do not dictate your future, and there's no limitations on where you could go, what you can become, how you can impact. And I know if I was able to do it, like, everything is possible. So
Why do you say that? Why do you say that if you could do it, anything's possible?
I wasn't given the easiest hand, you know. I had to go through it. I had to overcome, you know, many obstacles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're hungry and you want it and you know better, and you know it's better out there, you're gonna put in that work and do it. You know, you're gonna have that tenacity. You're gonna have that resilience to go after it. So, like, you know, things weren't easy. I didn't always have stuff handed to me. I didn't always have the support, especially from my own family. So, like I said, like, you know, everything is possible when you focus.
Did you ever deal with other students like your peers? Let's say middle school. Let's talk middle school. 8th grade, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Other kids realizing that your life wasn't easy, poking fun at you, making fun of you, or, you know, just making your experience uncomfortable. Did you deal with any of that?
Well, I'll say with my circle, I always put on a facade. That wasn't something I was transparent about.
Okay.
You know, my background and stuff. I didn't start being open about that probably till like my senior year of high school, when I learned, like, hey, it's okay. This is actually going to inspire people. But I was actually embarrassed about it. I had one classmate though in junior high school. She didn't live far, and she like come around and stuff, and I know she knew like stuff about my mom. Like my mom was on drugs and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I think she probably, you know how kids are, like, hey, that's why your mama a crack, stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I was unfazed. I was unbothered.
There you go. Now, did you feel for your mother and coming out of middle school, going into high school, like were you kind of like knowing that you were on a journey, you were on a mission, but your mother is out there struggling with life. Were you having feelings for your mother during those years?
Nah, honestly, I can't think of the word, but it became not. I didn't become desensitized to it, but sort of, kind of. I was just so focused. I was like, okay, it is what it is. This is the reality. You know,
Oh, we have a soldier in the house tonight, y'all. Let's get these reactions in the building. Think about how this is adding up. What her life was like, and the calm, the methodology, the poise that she's moving through this with. It's not that she's unfazed, it's that she's on a mission and she's not letting anything stop her from that. Let's get those reactions in the building. Let's get some hearts in the building, some thumbs up in the building. Because this is what life commands of so many thousands of young people in the system. Even if you're not in the system, this is what life commands of you. All of us don't respond the way that Sallia responded. And so what I'm gathering is that you are truly one of the best and brightest in the country right now. You are one of the greatest individuals in North America right now. And that's a fact. You guys seen it right here on America's Next Motivator. Let's get those emojis in here, because the fact of the matter is we look to have conversations, make presentations, inspire young people to feel the way that you feel. And it's hard to do. It seems like it can't be taught. It seems like it's difficult to get through, but you got it. When I was younger, for those people who don't know, I spent years of my life in foster care, and I had a similar outlook as you. And people will say, "Oh, you're an exception to the rule." Have you ever had somebody call you an exception to the rule? And how did you respond to that? If that's ever come across your conversation?
um, yeah, I've always been considered and called like the anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
I have other family members, a cousin that grew up in the system, and his life went total opposite, incarcerated, gangs, all that type of stuff. But I always hear that though, like you are part of that, like minute percentage that actually goes above and beyond. You don't fall to the statistics of being pregnant, dropping out of high school, having no type of direction or any of that. So I'm definitely familiar with that.
Are you aware that you can be seen as a hero, a shero, someone who is getting a major victory
Mm,
on behalf of not only yourself, but young people in the child welfare system,
yeah.
young black girls, young black women. Obviously, you're a woman now. You represent a championship for your counterparts.
Right.
Do you realize that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
What is your intention for your future? What do you plan on doing once you're like completely finished with school?
Definitely, I plan on practicing law. Um, I'm probably gonna go into my specialty. I'm interested in employment law, and through that, I want to definitely give back and make a difference. I want to do some pro bono work. Um, in like long term goal, I definitely want to start a workshop and stuff. I want to
Mhm.
bring a lot of professionals, black professionals and stuff, to inner city communities like Watts, Compton, South Central, and have like a variety of professionals from all types of fields: doctor, lawyer, artist, nurse, therapist, all of that. And like start some type of summer program and have that funded. I will help fund it for sure and give exposure to a lot of young people coming up because I feel like that's so important. Exposure is so important. If I didn't have the mentors that I had at an early age, like I probably wouldn't have felt like I could do much or go beyond my circumstances. So that's definitely a goal of mine.
Wow. So when you actually went into the foster care system, that's when you realized that foster care was a thing. And there were other kids in foster care. And did it impact you when your cousin, you said your cousin was in the system, when your cousin ended up going to juvenile detention centers and, his life kind of went, off in a bad direction? Did that impact you?
Yeah, it really did. More
Mhm.
so when I got older because I looked at my life and how it turned out.
Mhm.
And I know he went through a lot of the same things, probably, even worse. And I just felt like if he had men there that loved on him purely and sincerely, his outcome, his life would have been definitely different.
Do you feel that your cousin lacked the appropriate resources, almost as if he never really had a fair shot, like he never really had the people, the resources, the information
Right.
to do life correctly? Do you feel that way?
I do. Absolutely.
What do you think about young people? A lot of them who are in the system, they're in the foster care system,
Mhm.
and they do not have the information. They don't have the role models. They don't have the men. They don't have the women to actually do life right. What do you think about that?
And it's so unfortunate,
Yeah.
honestly. Um, my initially, and it probably will most likely still happen. I would love to challenge legislation in terms of like foster care reform and bills and stuff. Um, Before law school, I spent a little time working for our VP Kamala Harris, and that was one of
Who?
Kamala Harris.
Who?
Kamala Harris.
I'll say it one more time. I can't hear you.
Kamala Harris.
So you,
And
you work with Kamala Harris. Okay, go
yeah,
ahead.
and I drafted a memo on foster care reform, and I did a lot of research and stuff. And one of my goals was to just definitely bring that to light and have people understand like it is a messed up system today, and the caretakers, the foster parents who take in children like are not equipped. They aren't vetted, you know, they aren't real caregivers, and um, they can really, make a difference in that child's life, good and bad. So I feel like, unfortunately, my cousin, he didn't have the right caretakers there who took him in, and that made a huge difference in his life. So,
The foster care system in America is contributing to an ongoing tragedy
mhm,
in our society. The ongoing tragedy in our society is that the lives of young men and young women are being lost, not recorded, and negatively impacting the lives of others
right.
because they're not adequately resourced to activate their, black man magic, if you will. Well, some of us, we activate that, that inner magic, if you will, if we're using that as a theme throughout this episode. Some of us have a certain spark or a moment of inspiration, or maybe it's just a preferred genetic expression of this magic.
Mhm.
But the majority of us do not have that essence. We are practical about what's going on in our lives. Our mother's not around, our father's not around. We feel lost and we act lost.
Mm,
And so many of us end up losing our lives. We end up incarcerated.
right.
We end up dead. We end up, taking somebody else out. And I know it feels good to just point out Sallia and say, but Sallia, let's just focus on a positive. Let's just start with you and end with you. But the reality is you feel for your brothers and sisters who are in the foster care system. And that's part of the reason why we have to address the whole.
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Sallia Wilkins, and I want you guys to sit tight because after the break, we're going to talk about the intersectionality between the child welfare system and the juvenile justice system, which becomes a prison pipeline. You guys sit tight. America's Next Motivator, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network and our viewership. And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take this time out to tag, text, like, and share this video. Get somebody else in here for this conversation. This is a very important conversation that we're having with someone who relates to thousands of people across our country. Hey, Sallia, how you feeling out there?
I'm feeling good, Cedric.
That's good. That's good. Absolutely swell. So talk to me about this connection that you researched when you were working with Kamala Harris. Talk to me about that research and what did you find?
Well, I definitely did find that there is a very evident intersection between foster youth and the juvenile justice system. And at the age of 13, it's kind of like they've already started encountering that other side of the law. A youth growing up in foster care definitely tends to be less guided, get into trouble, be more vulnerable to crimes, fitting in, finding love, in the wrong places. I know that was an issue my cousin struggled with. He didn't feel love at home. He didn't feel any type of familiar support. And when it came to find love, he misconstrued that for the love of hanging around with Crips and gangs and stuff. And it wasn't until he was incarcerated for over a decade they realized, like, wow, those people really aren't my family. That wasn't love. They don't support me. But I know he isn't the only young man that thinks and feels that way and gets into trouble. So you see a lot of that intersectionality crossing over. And it is ways to prevent and stop it. And that's why I feel like this whole system needs to definitely be dismantled and dissected in these conversations, and bills definitely need to be revised. So
that's right. When we realize that there's a definite connection between foster care and incarceration, and this is not just about young Black boys, this is also about young Black girls, then what we are exposing is the true inadequacy of the child welfare system. And the reason why it has to be fixed is because it becomes a financial, it becomes the loss of life. Like we already said, we put the loss of life first before we got to the second half of the show. But when you look at the financial responsibility of our whole country, when you now have to contribute tax dollars because people are incarcerated.
Right.
You have to, your tax dollars now have to pay for, this entire group of people. And also it's black people, white people, it's all races. Anybody who's in the foster care system who ends up incarcerated, we're also paying for them. Yeah. And I think that unfortunately, the way that the infrastructure of our capitalistic society has been set up is that when something is costing us more and more money, we figure out what we need to cut. Oh, we cut it off.
Right.
We cut it off almost as if it's left to die. Well, these people who are getting shifted into the jail cells across America, they're not just going to die. They're realizing, hey, the hand that I was dealt in life was not correct. It was not equitable.
Right.
You might have thought that it was fair because somebody was putting a roof over my head and providing lights and a flushing toilet, but it was not equitable.
Right.
And so we have to revisit this. You can't just cut off the foster care system. You just can't get a political platform and forget to address the foster care system. As we move into an increasingly globalized society where we have to compete with other countries that are they're figuring out how to be leaner, more streamlined, more competitive. America's not going to be the best competitor it can be with the foster care system that's not corrected.
Right.
So we had a question in the building from Ani King Riley, and she asked, what are some of your ideas for foster reform? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, I would definitely go about vetting out potential foster parents in a different manner. And I would also make it mandatory that foster youth have access to resources such as therapy. I know a lot of times it's a stigma amongst that, but I feel like it'd be very beneficial. And I would definitely address and tackle the issues of our social workers and how they definitely have this reputation of falling below standard. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in group homes and foster care homes where social workers who are supposed to be advocates for those children are not doing their jobs. So I would definitely be holding them accountable. Different trainings, different program incentives. A lot of them have cases that are overloaded. It's all funded by the state and county. So I would try to get more privatized funding in. And I feel like a lot of that stuff will help.
That's right. That's right. One of the reasons why this is such an important national issue is because the child welfare system is a source of some of the greatest human beings on planet Earth. There is so much resiliency, championship attitude, competitive wherewithal, internal fortitude in a lot of these young people who are in the system. And when we change our attitude about foster care and child welfare, my thought is that the foster care system can become one of the greatest assets to North America. You have no idea the motivators, the phenomenons, the prodigies, the talent that will come out of your own foster care system if you had an attitude of growth from the top down, starting with the president, with the vice president. If you want to fix America, you want to enhance America, one of the things that should be on your desk every day is the child welfare system.
Absolutely.
100%. The child welfare system is breeding ground for America's next motivators. We have a comment in the building. Cordell Davis says, yes, good to see you, Sallia. Absolutely. It's absolutely good to see you. We have an opportunity to encourage people inside of this hour on America's Next Motivator that when you change your attitude, don't let the foster care system just be dry and incomplete. It should be, oh, I'm going to inundate them with resources. I'm going to put people in front of them. I'm going to give them great role models, men, women. I'm going to break down the barriers of access. For so many people who want to have a positive impact in the lives of youth in the foster care system, it's like red tape. It's like it could be your goal to work with youth in the child welfare system, but there's going to be red tape. You just can't roll up on, youth in the foster care system with, your motivational message and your program and your resources. How old were you when you first seen a motivational speaker or, a dynamic presentation for that matter?
It's probably like in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely in high school.
Yeah. Wouldn't you say that's like 10 years too late or something like that?
Yeah. Absolutely.
We could I think that if we had support, like total support, and when I mean support, I mean bills getting passed, policies getting changed,
right,
money getting redirected, in addition to young people understanding how to use that money, how to invest that money, to learn how to build their families and help build America.
Right.
Then I think we could get something done. It's like if my house was falling down, and let's just say the child welfare system is falling down, because there's a 50% correlation between foster care and homelessness. There is direct evidence between foster care and incarceration. I think it's safe to say that there's some cracks in the foundation of it. Then I'm not just going to stand there and try to hold it up with my two arms. I'm gonna go get backup. And I'm not just gonna get any old backup. Like I might have to call the city and let them know, hey, my house is falling down. I might have to call the top authority, or else this house is gonna fall in on me and my family.
Exactly.
Right. So I think we need to have that type of attitude. Like there was a song we used to have to sing in elementary school and all that. It was saying London Bridge was falling down. And I feel like the foster care system is falling down.
It is.
Definitely is. Our brothers and sisters are under that bridge. So now let's talk about some bills. Let's talk about something of, what people might think is more substance, more relevance. How do you pass a bill to help out? How do you amend the laws and bills to help out? You have anything to give us on that?
I know it's definitely a process. You have to start with your local people in your community, your local representatives, and have something drafted up, get their attention that way. And then the goal is to get the attention of people at the top, legislators and stuff, policy makers, and really express your concerns. And I'm sure they have a lot of people coming at them. So I think it's very important to be present in community initiatives and meetings and stuff. So don't just sit by, saying like, hey, I want to do this and that, but show up and make your presence known and be very consistent. I definitely want to work on some stuff too. I want to really amend mental illness bills right now that are affecting the Black community.
Explain. What do you mean?
I have people in my family that suffer from mental illness, and the current laws that we have affecting us in California specifically, they hinder mentally ill patients more than they help. So my goal is to definitely dismantle it and really bring it to their attention. Like, hey, there's an intersectionality between the mental health system and Black communities and how they're being underserved, and how we see a horrible outcome when it comes to their prognosis and their livelihoods and stuff versus, white people and their mental health care and their accessibility to resources. So it's a huge disparity. And my goal is to draft something and get the attention of, legislators so I could get that pushed.
This is absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get some responses, questions, comments, reactions in the building, because this is another jewel being dropped tonight by Sallia Wilkins. I don't know if you all know this, but if you are homeless in America, then the laws, the systems that govern your situation of homelessness is the mental health system. If you have drug addiction issues and you want to get help, you have to go through the mental health system. And it seems like, somebody said, I'm going to take all of these issues, and instead of like getting specific about creating a department and creating people who understand what the actual problem is and equipping them with what they need to actually help you solve your problem, I'm just going to create an umbrella called mental health. And so you have a lot of people who are in these situations of despair who are placed in the mental health system. And for a lot of those people, they're thinking, I'm not suffering from mental health issues. Why am I in the mental health building when I'm simply trying to get $600 so that I can pay my rent? Why if I'm telling you that I'm having difficulty paying my bills, I was in foster care. I know you might not have heard of foster care, but I was in this thing called foster care, and I need help getting on my feet, whether it be a small apartment or help paying my bills. That you want to do a psych evaluation on me. You want to analyze my mind. I'm asking you for help. You want to analyze my mind. Guess what? It's difficult for me to talk to you about the annexes of my mind because I have a lot of trauma. I was in foster care. Right? So out of all people, you want to talk to me about my mind? I'm busy in survival mode right now. I don't think that young people who go through the foster care system who end up homeless or incarcerated, I don't think it's appropriate for them to be members of the mental health department necessarily. And I think that's a big issue. Now, when you say the mental health system and the way that it impacts the Black community, can you give me another example of what specifically you mean by that?
Yeah. So, like, if you have a loved one who's suffering from mental illness and you want to advocate for them and get them help, there is not a lot of effective resources available. And so there are laws there that are currently in place that don't allow you to really advocate and step in and really help your loved one towards recovery. I know, like, if you have a loved one that may be hospitalized, a psychiatrist isn't even interested in.
You said they're not interested.
And not even trying to help them to go to recovery. It's no plan. It's like, okay, hey, I'm gonna get you stable, and then back out on the streets wherever
back out there.
And they don't take time to get family involved, who may really be concerned. They use textbook laws in their favor, like HIPAA, to hurry up and do their job and get them on out. They're treated like numbers, but everybody has a story. This is somebody's, child, somebody's sister, somebody's brother, somebody's son, somebody's daughter, and they don't think like that. They think of us as numbers and stuff. And so I feel like the laws that were designed, it was no type of humanity in thought, when they created these laws and stuff, and they disparately affect and impact the Black communities again, because we aren't really seeing, like, our mental health matters, right? And no one's really trying to figure out, okay, well, what can we do? What resources can we provide? What follow-up care can we do? So again, you have only county systems that are overloaded and overworked, and it's so hard to give the necessary care to specific patients and stuff. And I feel like a lot of work needs to be done. A lot of things need to be dismantled and changed and reformed. So that's another long-term goal of mine.
That's right. How how valiant is it of you to take on this challenge, ladies and gentlemen? I think that we should support her. I think we should follow her pages, look for her in the journals, look for her in the newspaper, anything that she's doing in the future. We should support it because she is standing in the gap. The mental health system, the jail system, even the foster care system could be seen as different parts of an abyss that we are like getting dumped into. And it's like you fall and you just keep falling. Some people get lucky and they get a hand up out,
Right.
you know, or you did have some good people in your life and they helped you, you know, to get out of the abyss. But for the middle majority of us, and it's a disproportionately Black us that I'm talking about, we are falling down an endless pit, an endless abyss. Some of it's just the mental health system, some of it's foster care. But once you get jailed, once you start a life of incarceration, there you have it. You're done. And Sallia is standing inside that gap. We got to raise awareness tonight about this.
Yeah.
When mental health laws and policies were created, let's just say hypothetically, the mental health system was for people who had actually lost their minds. Something happened, you went too far on drugs, or something happened. You were like almost like, mentally deranged in a sense, and nobody else knows how to deal with you, and so you deal with the mental health system. But when you fast forward to today, even within the past 60 years, the customer of the mental health system is a young Black man and a young Black woman who is not normally mentally deranged.
Right.
And so your customer has changed. Your customer is no longer always this person who is just mentally discombobulated to the point where they just need medicine and a stay somewhere, with people helping them because otherwise they don't have help. No. Your customer now is a young woman and a young man who wants to rectify their life, who wants to take their life to the next step. Your customer has changed. And that's what we're raising awareness about tonight. And I think it's so important that you brought this up. The customer has changed. It's young people aging out of the foster care system. Thousands of young people aging out of the foster care system, becoming customers of the mental health system. And they're being treated in a way that is not equitable and it's not fair. And I completely agree with you. Now, I got a few questions for you as we round third base here. But before we get to that, I just want to know, did you study any of the any of the greats of the past? Who did you study? What books did you read? How did you kind of get to this level of thought that you're at today?
That's a great question. I've always been a avid reader for sure. I've been inspired by a lot of people that's come before me. Martin Luther King, a lot of his ideologies and stuff stuck with me. Even his wife, my wallpaper now, which has been for the past probably 14 years, is Coretta Scott, Betty Shabazz, and Mary Eggers. And those three women, it's a photo of them together. If you Google it, you'll find it. But it's a photo of them together in black and white. And that's just so powerful for me. That's powerful because I think back historically to a time where we just weren't welcome as a people. And I could only imagine how it was for Black women during that era, to be the most unprotected, the most abused and stuff. And so I look at those three women and it's like, it's so empowering and inspiring to see how strong they were because they stood behind their men who, encountered so much,
Right.
So definitely tapping in to a lot of what they went through and experienced and endured.
Okay.
That's definitely kept me grounded and inspired.
Okay. Any books that you read?
I will say definitely Well, it's probably a more recent one, Becoming Michelle Obama. Like,
Okay.
it's definitely been inspiring for me.
Okay. How can people support you? Are you studying for the bar exam? Are you planning on taking your career further? What's going on as we wrap up?
Well, I am studying right now. I sit for the bar next month, and
Wow.
um, I'm just kind of taking it one step at a time. But definitely, they can continue to follow me on my platforms. I definitely want to impact and change a lot and stuff, and position myself in a place to do so.
How can people follow you? What's your at? What's your handle?
You can find me on Facebook at my first name, Sallia, Sallia, and the last name is Meryl Street. That's all together.
Okay. All right, y'all. Follow her, Sallia Meryl Streep on Facebook. I got 3 questions for you. We got 20 seconds left in the show.
Okay.
My first question, what is survival to you?
Survival is putting your all into resilience to get through, to make it through. You're not thinking about how high or how low or what you don't have. You're just pressing forward with horse blinders on. You're not thinking about the distractions or worrying about what you don't have. You're just pressing through.
What is success to you?
Success is definitely accomplishing as much as your purpose as you possibly can while you have time in this earth realm to do so.
What is greatness to you?
Greatness is embodying your greatest self, being the best version of yourself, and being
Absolutely.
unapologetic for that and walking
Absolutely.
in that.
Sallia Wilkins, everybody get your crown emojis ready. Sallia Wilkins, I want to let you know, we listened to your story today. I love the way that you processed your experiences and how you are making a decision to be an agent of change, an advocate, and a doer. We are giving you your respect today while you're here with us, and we're giving you your crown today while you're still alive to receive it. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the chat. Put your crown emojis into the chat. Put your crown emojis into the chat. We are letting you know, letting the world know that you, Sallia Wilkins, you are America's next motivator.
Thank you. Thank you, Cedric. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by today. All right.
All right. You take care. Thank you so much again for having me.
Yes, yes, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you got to do is stop by and pick it up.